Coming at you live and on demand from the heart of Europe, this is the most badass hockey podcast in all the known land. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Shot from the Point. Today on Shot from the Point, we're going to be talking about, of course, congratulations, Canada. You have won the Stanley Gold Medal. Again, and again, and again, to my dismay. Congratulations, Canada. And, of course, we're going to be talking about the collapse of the United States hockey effort in Stosey. And my point man for today and for most days, from the dirtiest of dirty, filthy, rotten, stinking down the shore, New Jersey, it is none other than comedian and legend. Let me introduce you to one. This is legendary Jake Link. Jake, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, people?
And cut the music. We have a very special guest. None other than the ex-head coach himself, the Paul McLean of love, one of the evil four horsemen of Puck Daddy, which now we have 5 and I think a female. I guess that makes it worse. We have none other than the great Harrison Mooney of the Vancouver Sun and Puck Daddy. Harrison, really welcome to the show.
Body's so freaking close.
There he is.
How's it going, man?
We actually made it happen. Harrison, how you doing, bud?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We can't complain. I'm really happy that we finally ironed this out and got you. Because look, between the Tortorella fight or the Tortorella brawl in Calgary and Vancouver and everything else is going on with Stosey, I'm sure you're busy. So you are officially Bill Buckner forgiven.
Okay, but I do want to say, I know I've said I'd be on the show for like a couple of times and then bailed last minute, and I want to apologize because I don't normally do that. I wasn't trying to further antagonize you guys. I respect what you do. I didn't want to be a douche about it. I felt really bad about missing it last week. So. Well,
I don't believe I'll accept your apology, but I the only part I don't believe is your respect for what we do, because I don't think me and Jake have a lot of respect for what we do. So,
truthfully, I mean, I don't really know what you do, but I
we really don't know. Every week the show starts out, I think we're gonna go in a different format way.
But it's really great to have you on. We want to ask you a lot of questions. You know, we talk a lot or go after reporters and up. But like I said to you offline, I'm not gonna corny. I'm not gonna give you that. I'm gonna ask you some tough questions. But I'd rather just have a conversation with you than turn this to some kind of war. When Ryan was on the show, or when he did an interview with us, it actually went quite well, and I went away with a little more respect for him. So I think we could just let's have a good time. Let's just talk hockey. First thing I want to get into, of course, congratulations, Harrison, to your countrymen. You know, I know you're probably looking at the Twitter sphere and think every American's a maniac, but we're really actually happy for you in the big.
No, my mom's American. It's all right.
You are American, or you live in America?
My mom is American.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, sure. So you can't lose.
No. Well, I mean, here's the deal, right? So, like, I'm adopted. And my 2 younger brothers are biological, and because my mom's American and my dad's Canadian, like they're both entitled to dual citizenship, but like the same entitlement doesn't actually apply to adopted kids. So like I was born and immediately spurned by America.
So basically, you got caught in a bureaucratic trap at birth.
That's correct.
Oh, that's awful. You would assume that would be covered. It's probably just something that wasn't considered.
Yeah, my guess is it was like, you know, there was some concern that people would just like adopt kids to get them citizenship. Oh my God, or some dumb thing like that. But you know, I mean, I've been alive now for 28 years, and I have had nothing but just a grudge against the United States of America ever since. So. It's wonderful to watch them lose at hockey.
I guess.
I'm just kidding.
No, I understand. I'm perfectly honest with you. I served the United States of America in Iraq, and I would have a grudge too. I think that's like kind of legitimate. So again, Bill Buckner, forgiven. Listen, I just let's talk about Team Canada and their victory. It was everything about Canada seems to win the same way when they do win the gold medal every year. They either play up or down to their competition, always up with the United States, and have an incredible finish just about every time. This is 2 in a row now. And Salt Lake as well in 2002. What in your opinion, separates really Canada from, besides the history, besides the fact that it is the birthplace of hockey in a lot of respects? What separates this particular team from the other teams who are very good on paper? Sweden, Russia, United States, very good teams.
Well, I mean, it's everything. This Canadian team is so loaded with talent. Like, I think people thought that it was, and I actually thought it was going to be a little bit closer. But the thing is, like, when you have so many good defensemen that you can just like sit PK Subban in the press box for the whole tournament, and so many forwards that Steven Stamkos is out and it's not really that big of a deal. Canada was stacked. And honestly, I thought that it was going to be the forwards that really made the difference. And this year, I think it was the blue line. I think that the Team USA blue line with, they left Keith Yandel at home. And I think that was really the big mistake, is they just didn't have the puck movers that Canada had in the end. And I think Yandel might have helped a little bit. I don't know if it would have been enough for them to, to maybe get over the hump. But
even just the pass out of their own zone is one thing. But one thing Canada did the United States that really, really impressed me, when the United States was actually able to break through and set up, they could not penetrate. And
no, they couldn't.
Yeah, and this is a team that scored a lot of goals in this tournament, and would score historically has scored and had an easy runs to the preliminary rounds. And Canada has won gold medals, and they have had shaky runs in the preliminary rounds. Boy, what kind of broadcaster am I?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Canada started off very shaky. That 2-1 win to Austria. Was it Austria or Sweden?
It was, Norway was their first one, and that was 3-1.
Norway. Yeah, they looked like they got pushed around. And
also, even into the first round of the playoff, they were very shaky. They didn't really come into their own. They weren't dominant Canadian hockey the whole way through this tournament, but they were just consistent. Do
you agree with that, Harrison?
Yeah, I do. I think that one of the things that happened is it took us a little while to figure out what the Canadians were doing. I think early on everybody was really concerned because they weren't scoring, and the reality is that they weren't playing run and gun hockey. No. They were basically the Nashville Predators, but with forwards. That's what the Canadians were doing this time around. So they would stand up at the blue line, they would clog the neutral zone, they would force teams to dump the puck in, which, for some teams, dump and chase is a good offensive strategy. Sure. But when you're going up against Mike Babcock, the puck possession master, dump and chase is him forcing you to give his team the puck.
Yeah,
right?
I guess you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, and when you have a guy you have Shea Weber and Drew Doughty and Duncan Keith back there, these guys are the best players in the world at, standing up at their blue line, and then when the puck is chipped past them, turning around, getting it, and moving it back up ice before you can get in. And that was their entire game plan, and it's why it was so difficult to score, because you couldn't even set up. You'd get to the blue line, you'd give them the puck, and then you'd retreat.
Why did that look shaky in earlier rounds? And you're absolutely correct with everything you said, and I saw that against the Americans. Why does Team Canada seem to blossom? Are they just bored out there? Are they that much better than the other teams? Why do they seem to blossom in later rounds and then just seem to dominate?
Well, I mean, teams come together as teams. That takes a while. You can do whatever you want in practice, but it's one thing to do it there where, you want to make sure nobody gets hurt. You're easing up. Everybody's friends. And it's another thing to do it against, other clubs. And then I also think that when you're playing teams like Norway and like Austria, these guys aren't really all that structured, and they're not that truly formidable. And so you get stuff like, Latvia scored that goal because Canada kind of just fell asleep.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing happens, but they play enough games, they get their systems together, then they play better teams, and they're tighter, and it just kind of happens.
Yeah, they're
now in the tournament, what team besides Canada and America and the obvious powerhouses, what team did you actually surprise you, and it was wow, that they have some legitimate talent?
Well, I mean, I think that, Sweden and Finland were the teams that I think people actually underestimated them. Most people assumed that it was going to be Canada, USA, and people said, this is the gold medal game when those two teams went up against one another. But honestly, Sweden and Finland are so good, and they kind of have the same system year after year. These guys know it. I felt when the Canadians came in, they had to be taught the system and learn it and all that stuff. Whereas the Swedes and the Finns, they come in and they just kind of get plugged into the system they've already got, and it's been working for them for ages. Mm-hmm. So there's that. But I think that the team that surprised everybody was Latvia, just because they were supposed to be kind of one of those pushover teams, like a laughing stock, and they wound up holding their own and winning a game. And honestly, they were probably the only team Canada faced where I thought, hey, they might lose.
Have you mentioned the teams have been pushing around. One thing I noticed about this Olympics, while there were blowouts, but I do remember, watching even during the amateur years for the Olympics, one thing that skating, and you still see this in the women's game, that skating was that was the most visual difference between a Team USA, a Team Russia, or a Team Canada. I noticed even Slovenia and Latvia, they seemed to be able to skate with everybody. Every team could skate. It was just that natural scoring touch, which I honestly believe is in your DNA and can be developed. That they just don't produce enough, maybe because of population or training or things of that nature. But I did notice, like, everybody is skating around the same level. With a few exceptions. Of course, you have a Grabner or a Patrick Kane or something like that. But the difference is defensive coaching, in my opinion, and just that scoring touch, the thing that Sidney Crosby or an Ovechkin's born with. Would you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I think so. Skating's really changed. There was a time when the game wasn't so fast that you could really get left behind if you were, say, a mid-level skater. Sure. And now everything happens so quickly that if you aren't an elite skater, you're just not a hockey player on this level.
When I was a kid, you could be a poor defenseman in a skater. I don't think you can do that in today's NHL.
No, you really can't at all.
I really wonder if Jeff
even the goalies look at like film from like even like the early 80s.
Yeah.
Goalies like looked like they're always about to fall down. And now they're like, they're legit, like they're as good as anyone else out there.
Yeah. Well, they started to say, I remember in the late 90s or the early 90s, it's some goalies on NHL teams are some of the best skaters. You just wouldn't know it. Mike Richter being one of those guys, of course, your guy Martin Brodeur is a fantastic skater. All right, my last question is, and I want to quick because I want to get to you, Harrison, like your personal life and your background, and especially your music career, which I'm really, really interested in. Is the United States that far off, or is it my theory that and I know Jake and me grew up in New Jersey, and we worship you guys. We worship the Gretzkys. We worship Lemieux. The United States, it basically plays an extension of Canadian-style hockey. We've had victories over the Russians, so we're not afraid of them. Is this some sort of like Bobby Fischer fear when we set up against you guys? Because you only usually beat us by one goal. Is this just like, look, we're playing Canada, we can't get a hold of ourselves?
Perfect example. Look at the women game.
Yeah. And I wonder about them, too, because the women have outplayed Team Canada all year. And then you get up face-to-face, and it's just a whole different story. Or is the United States just not that good, in your opinion?
No, I think we read a lot into these tournaments, and it's one game in a lot of cases, and right. In the last tournament, the States crushed Canada in the first game, and then they just happened to lose the gold medal game. And sometimes I think it's that. I think it's just one game. You look at something like, PDO, which is effectively just kind of the luck quotient in hockey. And surprise, surprise, the three teams that medaled all had the highest PDO of any team in the tournament. So, there is a big luck factor that plays into it. But I do think that there's a bit of a fatal flaw in the American DNA, not in terms of who you guys are as people, but sure. In terms of how the players are kind of raised and brought up. Because, Canada is the juggernaut. And what they've done in USA Hockey to really kind of bring everyone together as a team is really tout this miracle storyline. Look, Canada's the big bad. We're going to go up against them as like hardworking lunch bucket guys, and we're going to take them down. And that's fine for bringing a team together. But what I think it does is it also really puts Canada on a pedestal. And you saw in the game between Canada and the USA that really the USA came in with a strategy, an offensive strategy, and then in that game, all of a sudden they backed off and they were really careful and they seemed to forget their game. How
responsible do you think the coach of Team USA is?
I think he's responsible. I don't know if Greg Wyshynski had a great piece on Puck Daddy yesterday where he really just tore into Dan Bylsma. And that's his opinion, and I don't. Yeah. I think it's reasonable. I think it's valid. You can make that point. All the stuff is there. I didn't entirely agree. I really do think it's one game.
Yeah.
It's tough to make that kind of a proclamation about somebody's coaching after one game, especially when he's really only been coaching a team for like a week.
Well, in 1996, we had which was my team won. We had I thought I'm not a critic of the World Cup of Hockey in 1996. I thought it was a great tournament. It was a great time. It was like when it was 2 years after the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. It was a big thing. Best of 3 series. We did get you, not by much, but we did get you. And I think I remember when Doc Emmerich said this was not a miracle. And that kind of affects what you were saying. I get the feeling you're sort of agreeing with me. The lunch pail, we can skate with these guys. We have scores like these guys, with the possible exception of like a Sidney Crosby. Stop this, we're a bunch of college kids, and play the NHL game and beat the Canadians. That's what I'm taking away.
And that's what I hate from a lot of people. Like when America beat Russia, they're like, "Oh my God, we beat Russia!" Like a lot of people that aren't big hockey fans.
Yeah,
I'm like, do you realize these guys aren't the bunch of college kids that just took on the Red Army team of Russia?
They still think there's some kind of and apparently what Harrison is saying, it is built into the sort of the subconscious of a multi-million-dollar Patrick Kane. Is that what you're saying? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not like built into the subconscious. It's just kind of how it's built, you know? It's if you go in thinking, okay, I am the underdog, then you are automatically giving some level of respect, you know, to the other guy. You're saying that guy's better, and you know, I'm going to try to take him down. And I think that's reasonable, but at the same time, it is kind of dangerous because you don't want to over-respect your opponent. And I do think sometimes teams can do that against Canada.
You know, it's funny. America we love the underdog, you know.
It's maybe
just in general. Like, look at just go back into our history, you know.
Yeah.
When you know we fought the British, we were the underdog.
Bunch of guys in red coats that were better than us. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and America just like feeds off of this stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
I don't even think there's movies. There's not going to be a movie on the 72 Dolphins. You know. No. There'll never be a movie on that. Nobody wants to see just a bunch of guys that beat a bunch of people, and that was all.
That's true though. Like people really do want to see the big bad taken down. I mean, I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan, unfortunately, and I saw that.
It's funny, you guys never won anything, but you are the big.
Well, in 2011, like that Canucks team in 2011 is one of the best teams I think that we've had in the post-lockout era. They were amazing. They were good at everything.
Definitely, yeah.
But you know, I mean, but everybody wanted to see them fail because that's kind of what happens when a team is that good. Well, and it happened, and everyone was happy except for me.
I think it's the personality of your team. It's the things like, look, no one's going to sit there. We goof on the Sundins as much as anybody because, well, it's easy, and we're pretending to be a comedy show. But I think the reason folks hate the Canucks, because they didn't feel that way when the Rangers were playing them in '94, because that was a much different team. It's the personality of the team. It's the way they come off. Yeah, I mean, look,
like European soccer players.
The Sundins are not weak, but it's the I don't know. I'm trying to look for the word here. Willingness to dive. It's the I remember there's a great clip between Sean Thornton and Dale Weiss, I think it was, and he tried to coax him into a fight and skate away. I mean, that's the stuff that drives other people nuts about your team. And other than that, Vancouver is a fantastic hockey team. They were a fantastic hockey team last year, and they were the year before, and the year before that. But for whatever reason, I don't think they have. In my opinion, I think Tortorella was the perfect replacement for him because I think you need that personality to kind of push these guys forward. I just don't like the way they've done things in the past, but it doesn't seem like it's working right now. Let's touch on the Canucks now that I'm thinking of it. Is Tortorella good or bad for the Canucks?
Wait, okay, I'll answer that. But first I want to go back to with the 94 team. You know why nobody hated that team? Because they weren't supposed to win.
Well, that's true.
Right? And it's the same argument I'm trying to make with the 2011 team. People hated them and people said they were arrogant, not because they were particularly arrogant, but because they were the good big team. They were the team you want to take down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, so I get it.
Right, like name a dominant championship team that didn't get accused of being arrogant. It never happens.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
You know, look
the Devils. The New Jersey Devils, because nobody cares when they win.
Who is it?
There you go. Bunch of humble guys that won a lot of championships. Right, Jake?
What did you say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said he said name a team that won championships is not considered arrogant. And I said the New Jersey Devils because nobody cares when you goofballs win.
Shut up.
Hey, let's get to you. I'm really interested in you and your background. Where'd you grow up? You mentioned something offline to us, but can you give me like your little startup story, your background, where you grew up, where you went to school, etc.?
Yeah, all right. Well, like I said, I'm adopted. I was born and raised in Abbotsford, which is a little suburb just outside of Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, really religious town.
Really beautiful
just
too.
Tons of churches. Basically, like if you grow up in Abbotsford, you either grow up a Christian or like a former Christian. So that's just kind of how it is. So yeah, I was homeschooled by my mom,
Right.
and it was Christian education, so I did that. Homeschooled from grade 4 all the way through high school. And then I went to a Christian university for the first year and a half. And then after that, I went to a small, I guess you'd call it a secular university in Abbotsford called the University of the Fraser Valley. If you Google it, there's like tractors on the front page and stuff. It's not a very prestigious school, but
You're
I
the
was good
Tim
at school.
Tebow.
It doesn't really matter. I feel like
You're the Tim Tebow of the hockey reporting world.
Well, I mean, I got a degree in English. I feel like you can kind of get that anywhere. It's about really a lot of reading and independent research and learning how to write essays, and you can do that pretty much anywhere.
Now that you mentioned homeschooling, do you think being homeschooled gave you an advantage?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think that in terms of like the grammar and the math and that stuff, I thought it was really great. And looking back on it, it was really great. But I mean, it was also like very slanted Christian education. Like a lot of the stuff that I learned about like evolution, for instance.
The Earth is 3,000 years old.
No, the thing is, honestly, until I was like 21, I was like a young Earth creationist. All right.
Really?
So like the Earth was 6,000 years old and evolution was just a theory and it was based on circular reasoning and all that stuff.
Wow.
And it took me kind of like thinking about it and arguing with some people and then going and getting some books out and reading and being like, oh, I've been fed a crock of shit. And that,
but not
not
enough of a crock of shit to not pick up a book and do it yourself, though. So they did help you a bit.
when you're raised in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, you're not just raised like, hey, this is how it is. You're raised like, hey, this is how it is, and the people that say otherwise have bought into the lies of Satan. And if you so much as investigate that stuff, you're treading the dangerous waters of being duped by Satan.
Yeah,
it's
like
really
the
indoctrination.
Ken Ham's debates,
No, it was exactly that. Like I watched that debate a little bit, and it was interesting because I mean, I'm definitely on Team 9 now, but like I was Team Ham until I was like 21, and it's really difficult to get out from under that when even the thought of getting out from under that is an indication that you're like some kind of sinner or Satan duped individual.
Did this cause problems with your? And I This leads me to a personal question, and you can bail out on anyone, especially when they're personal, because I don't like to get into people's families. But did this create problems with your mom or your dad and things of that nature? Saying, "Hey, look, I don't believe this anymore. I feel differently." Did that create any kind of tension or problems, or not at all?
Yeah, no, it totally did. Because we don't agree at all anymore, right? So, I mean, I try to avoid talking religion and politics with them because it's just going to turn into an argument. But sometimes it happens, and then those arguments happen. But I feel like at this point, I'm an adult; they're adults. It's not the same thing, where they're trying to like raise me up in the ways of the Bible anymore. I just am who I am, and I think they're kind of starting to come around on that.
Well, I gotta be honest with you, like that. I mean, I live in Germany, and I talk to my father like 3 times a week. And look, we talk about the Yankees and politics, and I can't imagine something coming between that. And I think it would be really difficult. So I mean, I would think that's rough, but it sounds like you guys got through it.
Sort of.
Yeah. Well, look. I mean, look. My father was like I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh every day from school, and now I am definitely a libertarian. I am no longer and I was never a religious person at all. But it does. I think I know what I don't think my father would disown me unless I said I was a Met fan. Wink, wink, Jake.
Yeah.
But
it
does create stuff. But I mean, I've been very fortunate that I don't go to dinner and cringe when I do go home. So I'm just kind of sympathizing. I think that would be kind of difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like I don't talk to them that often. I'm not very good at communicating with them, and they're not that good at communicating with me. But
Really?
when we do talk, we're usually catching up, and so we try to avoid those conversations, I think.
Well, they got to be
So it
proud of
doesn't
you.
go, well, how's my brother doing? Oh, by the way, yeah, the Earth is 2 million years old. That doesn't happen.
Not so often, no.
No, I forgot what I was going to say. It was good.
No, I had a friend staying with me. It was a guy, and he was gay. And I was talking to my dad about him, and I mentioned that, and my dad just kind of shook his head. And I knew he had more to say about that, but it was like, Dad, don't even. Let's not get into that. We're just gonna fight.
Well, they have they have to be proud of you. I mean, I mean, I imagine you consider yourself a success. And
I don't know.
You don't think?
I think my mom doesn't really know what I do. To
Really?
be honest.
I'm the hockey guy
Sun,
can't
though.
fathom.
She reads the Vancouver Sun every day,
Okay, yeah.
and so whenever I get something where my name is on like the front page, like above or below that main fold, and she sees that, then I'll get a call like, I saw you in the paper today. But I mean, if I told my mom like, hey, during the Olympics, I wrote some pretty interesting stuff and people really seem to enjoy it, she'd be like, oh, that's nice.
That's how my mom feels about me doing this internet radio show.
I think we can.
My mom has not listened to a second of this.
But I mean, we get 50 views a week.
I can tell you one of them. Not one of them is my mom.
That's nice. Didn't she ask you, like we were telling you doing a podcast, Jake, and she asked you, like, so what station is it on? No, Mom, it's like on the internet, but it's radio. Yeah. How can it be on the radio if it's on the internet? It's on the internet. It's the radio.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole. It's funny. Like, I was setting up to get the show ready. She called me up. She goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm setting up for my my radio show." She goes, "Oh, you do that at home?" And I go, "Yeah." And she's like, "What are you guys talking about?" I go, "We're going to talk about the game today. Like, what else is going around in the NHL and just hockey in general." She goes, "That's all."
I like to meet your mom.
It is a hockey radio
when I brought
show.
this up once before, Jake, you were like, I guess you know my mom. And I said, no, I know New Jersey. That's what I got. So you go to, so you finish up school and you become a hockey journalist of all things. I guess you grew up with hockey in the house. So, I mean, look, religion's one thing.
I didn't. My family are like the most anti-sports people around.
Oh my God.
Really?
Oh, God.
Yeah. I got into hockey in college.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've only been a hockey fan for a better part of a decade now.
Yeah, around that. I'd say like I probably got into it around 2001, 2002.
No kidding.
I mean, like, we were just outside of Vancouver, so we followed the 94 Cup run because everybody did, right?
Yeah, sure.
But
thanks,
apart
by the
from
way, for that one. That was great. Wait,
another one that's stuck in 94. Great.
I'm stuck in 94. I got to talk to Harrison about this. Excuse me, Mr. Devils fan. How many 3-1 victories did you guys come back from? In that?
I think it was 2 in that series, and then there was almost a third.
Oh yeah, there was almost a third. And actually, I was pretty sure you were going to win because I been watching the Rangers for 10 years at that point, and I figured that face-off in the zone, something was going to happen. Like it was going to go up in the air, hit Mike Richter's helmet, and slip down his back, go in his pants. Nobody knows, and then they rule it a goal, just like they did what's his face in Phoenix a couple weeks ago. That's what I was expecting to happen.
Goal, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I would not have been shocked if something like that happened, even with 1.6 to go. I mean, you got to be a Ranger fan to understand, but that's the way they used to think. Now, we just cheer them because we won the Cup in '94, man. So.
You know what I'm going to do, Tommy? I'm going to work on this. I am going to compare gas prices, hit TV shows, and other things going on in 1994 compared to today. And just to show you how long ago that was.
20 years, believe me. I know. God.
It's almost old enough to.
I'm almost 40.
Enough to drink.
I'm almost 40 years old. Give me a break here. All right. I want to get into some your music career. Did you must have taken music lessons or learned to sing in church? I guess that's it.
Yeah. Like I did a bit of singing in church. Like I was in a we had like a children's choir. I was in that for a little bit. And then, we grew up in like these kind of indie churches where it wasn't that difficult to get on the worship team. So I did a lot of singing there.
What's a worship team, please?
All right.
Team
So
worship.
like,
Come on, worship JV.
like your big churches will have like, a full band and like everybody is very trained. But your little churches, it's pretty much just anybody who knows how to play, and they meet like maybe once a week and they learn like 4 or 5 songs. And so you'll have a guy who's decent at music. He plays the piano or something, and he'll kind of dictate the songs, and you'll just sing little like worship songs, and they're basically like pop songs except about Jesus, and everybody sings along. And
yeah. Well, I've always thought
choir.
the gospel music is the blues, but just take out "Oh Baby" and put in Jesus. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. 12-bar blues, correct?
yeah. So like worship music, especially in the 90s, was basically like, yeah, whatever kind of the standard pop songs of the time were. Yeah, you swap them out for Jesus, and they all sounded like that. Like it's it all sounds very similar.
Jesus, oh, and Jesus,
Yes.
Jesus.
Thanks, Jake. This guy can sing. You can't.
Well, you can trace it too. Like, in the early 2000s, there was kind of that Britpop invasion, and worship music really went that way. There was actually a Christian band that played worship music kind of the same way as like early Radiohead, called Delirious, and they changed worship music, and like every church started doing these Delirious songs. Now still a lot of the worship songs kind of sound like early 2000s Britpop.
Well, when I was a kid, we had Striper, I think it was called. They were the heavy metal band. Oh God, they're
Orange
awful.
County Supertones were a Christian ska band.
Hey, the Supertones are awesome.
Oh, really? But we goof on these Christian groups, and I've been playing guitar since I was 14. Some of these guys are pretty talented people, but they're not going to get mainstream credit because they're doing Christian music. And I'm sure you know that better. You probably ran into a lot of talented people. And I got to be honest with you, Harrison, you seem to really, really talented guy yourself. You did a music video last year called was it called The Union, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I got it. Was that like the Smiths or the Cure influence by any chance?
Not even a little bit. It's a Europop singer named Robin has a song called "Call Your Girlfriend," and we just riffed on that.
Oh, okay, all right. Like I said, I'm getting old. I have kids. I don't know what's cool anymore. I don't know what the kids are up to anymore. And then you recently did this hysterical video, and it was really great. And it's not that you're just going in there and singing. You're not doing some Dave Chappelle bit. You can really sing. Outside the Christian route, did you take lessons? Did you go to any music school, or is this just has this always been kind of come to you, so to speak?
I guess it kind of came to me. Like I'm okay. I think what happened was just as I was getting out of college, I wound up in a funk band, and I hadn't really done much singing. I'd done some church singing and stuff, but I joined this funk band as their lead singer. And I mean, the other guys in that band were such incredible musicians, and just kind of being around them, you learn to hold your notes. You learn to run the scale, that sort of thing, and. So I was in that band for 3 years, and I still hang out with the keyboard player from that band, and he helps me with pretty much every song I do. So I'd say honestly that he props me up like crazy. Without him, I am nothing.
So you're a self-taught musician, in some respects.
Yeah, I mean, I can only sing. I can't play anything.
Oh, okay. I pretty much taught myself. I mean, my father sent me to guitar lessons, and I can play solos and just do about anything. But I can't read a note of music, so I think we're in the same boat. But are you planning on doing stuff in the future with stuff like that? This seems like something you're pretty passionate about.
Music makes me very happy. I do it a lot now. Just with my friend Brian, the guy I was talking about, he and I do a lot of songwriting and just kind of like getting together and singing. And right now, we're actually planning to put together a set. It'll just be him on piano, me on vocals, and maybe some percussion instruments. And we're working on maybe actually touring a little bit this summer, just kind of doing coffee shops in like Western Canada, driving around. It'll be fun.
Good luck with that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I want to switch from hockey a little bit. I noticed that I read some of your tweets during the Richard Sherman situation when he cut his WWE promo. And I noticed you took exception to some of the criticism, which I actually happen to agree with you. I think was a little bit over the top. What bothered you so much about the media's reaction to Richard Sherman's, like I said, wrestling promo?
I thought like whenever something like this happens with a guy like a Richard Sherman, or even like the way that the media treats PK Subban and even some hockey fans at times, I just think everyone gets mad at me because they think I'm saying it's racist. I'm not saying it's racist.
You didn't use
I'm
the
saying,
word once.
no,
If to help you out, you didn't say it once.
Like there's direct racism. I've faced it a few times in my life, but what I think happens now. Is that people have gotten smarter. They know that you can't just be racist anymore. That's ridiculous. But people still have they still have unspoken. I think there are racial biases. There are things like you see Richard Sherman after a win just kind of being a bit shouty, and everyone says, "Oh, he's a thug. He's a typical thug." And I mean, if you know him at all, you know his background. You know him.
He's smarter than anybody.
Stanford graduate.
Yeah, he's smarter than anybody that said that. That's at the end of the day. But
I thought it was great. I thought it was great entertainment. The guy was excited. He's
liked
going
it.
to the fucking Super Bowl. Come on.
I loved it. I'd laugh my ass off. I mean,
I thought it was amazing. I was like, this is great.
It's not like he threw a gang sign and then maybe it'd be on the right. He was pumped. And Don Cherry says this all the time. You catch these guys right out of the locker room, and you want to get the story behind the story, and you want all this coverage, and then all of a sudden, an athlete acts like an athlete, and everybody gets shocked and appalled. It always seems different to me. Now, this is the part, Harrison, where I was going to set you up, and I'm not going to set you up. I'm telling you, I got a tough question for you right now. It has to do with one of your colleagues, and you said you'd answer it if you could. I don't expect to throw any if you got to throw any of your guys under the bus, but this is where I'm going to hit you. During the Ray Emery brawl with Brandon Holtby, one of your colleagues referred to. Ryan Lampert referred to Ray Emery as a thug, and I think the Sherman situation applies exactly the same way as it does through Emery. Or no, I'm sorry, he didn't call him a thug. Let me get this right. He referred to saying that he was going to get his own gangster line of clothing. I mean, you have, and I thought that was unfair because it was simply a hockey fight, and that's very normal. Did you have any kind of conversations with Ryan or like that? Because I honestly think it's the exact same thing.
No, I don't I don't remember him saying it, but at the same time, like if something like that is said, I'd say the same thing that I'm saying about Richard Sherman. I think a lot of these things are unspoken and unaddressed. You see something like that. I mean, I don't know if Lambert was referring to like, old-timey gangster, or if he was actually referring to like gang member gangster.
He spelled it the rap way, GAN.
No, I mean the thing is, I actually don't know. But look, if he is kind of going with that like the gangster route, right? I think a lot of times these are things that we just kind of think, and they're based on biases that we kind of have that are unchecked, or subconscious opinions about things, and it just kind of comes out. And I honestly think it's not wrong or abnormal for people to have those reactions. It's just that when you don't go back and check them, when you don't realize like, oh, you know what, that's actually racially influenced. And like I think that it happens. Honestly, it happens with me. Like I've never once said that I am completely free of racial bias, because I'm not, because I grew up in this world. And when you're walking alone at night and you happen upon somebody who's like really dark skinned, you're like, uh-oh. But then you have to stop and think, why am I thinking this? Is it because that guy's actually scary, or is it because I have grown up in a culture where guys like that, it's been told to me those guys are the bad guys.
Those guys are the bad guys. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. So, I mean, so are you saying that Ryan might have some racial bias? Because I mean, this is something that would really bother him. He considers himself free of all those things by what he writes and how he talks to people on Twitter.
No, I don't think he's free of racial bias any more than I'm free of racial bias. And I also don't think he considers himself free of those things. I think that he tries to be as open-minded and reasonable as possible. I honestly do. I know you guys hate him. And for the most part,
we don't hate him.
I have
he gave
no
us our
problem
best
with
bit.
Lambert. I have no problem with Lambert. I honestly don't think that there's anything like that. And if he wrote what you guys are saying, even that one little word, and it was
a joke. But you know what? Here's my problem. I disagree with you in one area. I don't think any of it's racially biased. If you want to call it, the guy acted crazy. I think what he did was classless, but I don't. It was the same thing with Sherman. I thought what he did was classless, but not necessarily evil. He got in a hockey fight. Big deal. It happens every day. Sherman cut a wrestling promo when he was really pumped up. Big deal. But, I mean, Ryan, in my opinion, sees himself as somewhat above those things and that doesn't engage in those type of things and would criticize anybody who might slip. And I don't even think it's a slip. It's a goof. It's a joke. He was joking.
Like with the whole interview with Lundqvist, pretty much veering away from the whole entire anti-gay propaganda that's going on over there in Russia. You know, it kind of, in a way, it falls in that same that realm. Like, you know, why is it okay for him to say that? But a player is not going to go
say,
on a whole political thing
that he doesn't want to talk about something. I mean, he's not as hard on himself than he's not
saying, you know, oh well, yeah, I completely agree with it. He's just avoiding it because he had to go there in a month or two.
Yeah, because I like to talk to you about I wouldn't say bias because I guess it's something like a Fox News thing or something like that. But I find a lot of hypocritical things, not just in Puck Daddy either. I have Adam Proto talking about speaking out on political issues. More hockey players need to do that. He doesn't explain why. He just says they need to do that. Tim Thomas makes a political statement, and he's completely outraged. You have Ryan Lampert, who makes it over last Stanley Cup. He makes a big deal about violence in hockey culture. And then during the same Ray Emery fight, in his own article, he recommended that Brendan Holtby hit Ray Emery with a two-hander, a Phil Kessel type two-hander. I mean, I run into this constantly, and when I challenge these guys on Twitter, they shut down. Do you think this is a problem among your colleagues, or you just think this is just human beings? This is the way they are.
I'd say human beings. I'll tell you. Here's the thing that I think a lot of people who don't write hockey, and I never played the game. I can't talk about what I know about hockey, but what I know about writing hockey or writing anything else is that when you write every single day, and you're putting out a ton of content, and your opinions may change over time, but everything that you've ever thought is cataloged online, and there are people that remember it. You're occasionally going to get caught in conflicting ideologies.
Sure,
I think that happens.
I've said things on here that I listen to, and I'm like, oh my god, and we're far from famous. I regretted it. And I was like, that contradicts.
Tommy did a whole apology for like 10 minutes on something he said about Marion Gaborik.
But that's the thing, I did. I broke my own rules. But I apologized. And I said, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, say, hey, look, it's not like there's a time not to apologize when you want to stand on your principles. And there's a time to apologize. Like, look, it was way over the line. I don't see that coming from a lot of hockey reporters. I definitely think you're a guy to do that. I mean, you seem to be very upfront, very honest. You weren't running around calling people racist and what have you. I think some of those criticisms were legitimate because the criticisms of Sherman were way over the top in some instances. But I see this all the time. We have this class of people that don't play hockey, that have never been an athlete, never been any part of a team, passing these moral judgments on these essentially children. And then when they do get caught up in some kind of hypocrisies, you know what? I was wrong. I screwed this up. I thought it was this way, but you never hear that. Why is that?
I mean, I think, again, you've got so many people coming after you that occasionally you just get your back up. Like, I'll tell you, the absolute best way to insulate yourself against all the assholes that we have to deal with on a regular basis is a little bit of elitism, right? It's saying, you know what? These people are stupid. I'm smarter than them.
You're not an elitist.
No, well, the thing is, I kind of am because you saw me retweeting. I retweeted a bunch of assholes the other day after that USA Canada satire piece. Everyone got all mad. I retweeted these people because I thought they were idiots. I was like, I'm smarter than these people. So there is absolutely an element of elitism to what I do.
Oh my god. So you're admitting my biggest critic. Like, I don't think Ryan would admit to something like that. And I don't know if that's something you should be admitting to. By the way, your satire thing was a goof. I got the feeling to make yourself feel better before the big game. And look, if I had your readership and I had done the same thing about Canada, I would have got very similar responses. But I got to be honest with you, the whole thing was hysterical.
Thank you. No, I mean, like I didn't write it to relax myself or even to get people angry. The joke, as far as I was concerned with that column, was like columnists write this stuff like for real.
Sure.
And so I tried to set up in the first 3 paragraphs, like, this happens all the time, that columnists write like this. Then I was like, I'm not going to write like this. And then I followed that up by writing exactly like that. Like, I thought I spelled it out, that the joke really was on other columnists, and instead everybody took it really seriously.
It was an absolute riot. I don't think that's elitism. Because first of all, your responses to them were funny. They didn't exactly necessarily put anybody down, and you just retweeted them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like you called everybody an idiot.
Well, I thought they were idiots.
But the fact that I'm really impressed with that. To be honest with you, Ryan, that you said that you guys insulate yourself through elitism. I don't like that. I'll be honest with you. I think what you do is a lighter version of that. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, only because you came on my show and you're like the most famous person.
Well, it's not aggressive elitism. Like, it's not like we walk around every day with our noses in the air, like we're better than everyone. But I mean, the thing is that when you're getting these attacks and people care this much, you do occasionally just be like, okay, I'm smarter than this person. I'm not that worried about what they have to say about me. That happens all the time. It's light elitism.
My favorite thing to do on a smaller thing is just find a nice YouTube video of something and then just read the comments, because you're always just gonna have that one douchebag who thinks he's better than, and it's the same thing. Like, here you did this satire piece, and you have people that just take it way too much to heart.
Okay.
And
sure.
I can't understand.
I know exactly
people.
what you're saying, because look at one of our own videos that we posted. We reposted the Holtby the Flyers Capitals brawl, and it turned into a racial incident. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I couldn't even delete the comments as fast as they were coming in, and it concerns me. It's like the old joke goes, what do you call 2 white guys talking about hockey? Racist. I'm really trying to avoid that characterization.
Harrison on is definitely relieved us all that.
But yeah. Thanks, Harrison.
Here to help you guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot. But that was good. But those things concern me. I don't want to. I want to be controversial, but I don't want to be a raving bigot. So I mean, I'm deleting these comments. I'm like, look, I can't do this. This I'd be here all night. I still get them to this very day. So I just kind of separated myself from it and just pointed out how ridiculous it was. I mean, you never saw a goalie act up. Remember Billy Smith, the New York Islanders? I mean, come on, the guy was a lunatic, and he was as white as me. And I think that's all
Dan Cloutier. As one we always bring up is Dan Cloutier.
Oh yeah. No, the thing is, like, Ray Emery is insane.
It's not his first fight. This is not his first fight. Do you think he's like Ryan Miller?
That fight against Ryan Miller, like, that's when you knew that he was insane too, because he had a grin on his face that was like sociopathic, right? Like, it was insanity. So I mean, I don't think anybody was that shocked that he had another instance like that, with the Holtby thing. But I do think that if you're like, well, that was thuggish or that was gangster, then obviously you have some racially influenced thought for sure.
Hey, look, I'll tell you one thing: the Dan Cloutier fight when he fought Tommy Salo, I think it was, on the Islanders.
Oh, that was beautiful. If you haven't seen that, the guy. Are you familiar with this event, Tommy Salo versus Dan Cloutier? I think it was in 1996, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Cloutier played for the Canucks for ages.
So. It's in Vancouver. I think we got Corey Hirsch for him, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Or somehow.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of deals with the Rangers to that things. Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't have much. The only thing I got to ask you is hockey related. You're right. We couldn't corner you if you wanted. You're too damn smart.
No, you honestly couldn't. I'll answer anything.
You know why? But you know what? There's a reason I think I can't corner you, because you're intellectually honest. And I think that's something to be proud of, and it's nice to hear that. And it's like, look, hey, look, we're hypocritical sometimes. We screw up sometimes. You don't hear that, and it's refreshing for me. And next dumb article you write, you get a break from me. But the only other thing, and this kind of, it sounds stupid considering they won the gold, because I plan to ask you this question prior to the Olympics. The C on Sidney Crosby. This is Jonathan Toews' team. Everybody knows it. Is that really done for marketing reasons, or do you think that Sidney belongs in that role?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think that the C is one of the stupidest things in hockey. I don't think it matters.
It matters to me.
To be honest.
Look who has the C for the New Jersey Devils. Everybody wants the guy gone.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, if you are the leader of a team, then whether or not you have a letter, it's going to show. So I don't think it matters that much. I think people make a big deal of it.
Sure.
I think Crosby was kind of the obvious choice because he's the big name and because he's Sidney Crosby, right? I think people kind of wanted him to be the leader of this team, kind of the generational leader of this team, in the way that Gretzky and Lemieux were the generational leaders of previous incarnations of Team Canada. But yeah, I do think that Jonathan Toews probably is more of a natural leader, in as much as I know anything about these guys' leadership abilities beyond what we read and occasionally
that's all
see.
you can go by. That's all you can go by. Well, one of the things, and last question on Crosby, we talk about how great Crosby is and somehow he's a very polarizing figure and how he's unfairly hated sometimes. I am never going to doubt this guy's a natural ability. It's amazing to watch. But one thing I don't see, and I wanted to see if you agree with me or not, because you're like a big-time guy. One of the things you never hear criticism, they usually call him a sissy or a diver, but one thing that I noticed with Sidney is a meltdown factor. You saw it with Claude Giroux in 2012. You saw it with Zdeno Chara last year. Is this a major weakness that might keep another cup out of his hands? If you agree with me and think that that actually exists, I think he has. When he doesn't get his own way, it's like a baby, and that's why I don't. You don't think so? I don't think
that's true at all. I think that what happens is we're watching him so closely that things look like a meltdown, or it looks like he's off his game, and he's just like a naturally frustrated guy. I do think that Crosby he's insanely competitive. Like there's that great photo that was going around of him at the curling, and everyone else is kind of just sitting there, and he is watching like he's out there playing. Like it's crazy.
Really,
Well, yeah, I think that these guys, like a guy like Crosby, even a guy like Jonathan Toews, like these guys are insane, right? Like the only way that you become that successful a hockey player,
you're right.
And you are that focused is if you like have nothing else going on.
These guys bet on coin flips. They're that nutty.
I think there's that, and I think it's really frustrating for Crosby because, first of all, he's already this competitive, and second, I mean, the whole game plan when you go up against the Pittsburgh Penguins is get Sidney Crosby off his game.
Sure.
Like, a fun thing to do would be next time that you're watching a Crosby game, just watch him. Even when he doesn't have the puck, just watch him. Watch how often he gets slashed and cross-checked, and hit up high, and just little things where people are just trying to get under his skin. It's infuriating. But I think when he has his meltdowns, it's because of that.
That's the weakness, though, because he's certainly not the first player that had those problems.
I think he gets it more than anyone else.
Well, because he reacts to it.
Also because he's the best player in the world.
You think so? Gretzky was the best player in the world at one time. People didn't do it because, they knew somebody would kick his ass. But and Gretzky wouldn't really respond. Messier would could handle things like that. Although he did blow up sometimes, but most of his blow-ups led to getting the team pumped up. Lemieux much the same way. That they were able to control it. I disagree with you, Harrison. I think this is a weakness in his character and his character. And yes, he's ridiculously competitive, and yes, he's ridiculously good. But he acts like, and pardon me, because this is probably going to tick you off. He acts like a Generation Y kid. He reaches adversity, and he didn't get enough. He got all these participation medals, and things aren't going his way. That's why you would start a momentum shifting argument with Zdeno Chara. He doesn't deal with that. I think that's a weakness. Yes, he has to deal with more than everybody else, but that's what comes with greatness. And I think that's it. When the end of the day, when the chapter's closing, Sidney Crosby, yes, top 5, maybe top 5, top 6, top 10 definitely top 10 hockey players that ever lived, but he was never like Gordie Howe. He was never like Mark Messier. Even Wayne Gretzky, who was not a tough guy, he just doesn't compare to these guys character-wise. That's my opinion.
I don't agree with that. I'll tell you, the one thing with Gretzky, too, is, obviously he had two guys skating around the ice who would beat the hell out of you if you touched him. And it's not even just like, they'd get you if you hit Gretzky too hard. Like, they'll get you if you're going to do the hacking that Sidney Crosby gets. Like, they will murder you. And I think that's the difference is, now you can't do that because that means putting somebody on Crosby's line who can't keep up with him. And it's already tough enough to find players who can keep up with him among the best players in the world.
No,
so
that's true.
It's never going to happen with a goon. So I just think it's a different game.
Sidney Crosby is so good that we're talking about mental factors maybe being a weakness. Look, if you're going to have one, that's going to be. But I do. That's one of the reasons I dislike Crosby. But it's just I think, I think Esa Tikkanen or Sean Avery would just. I don't think he gets by a team with tremendous agitator, and I think that's a weakness. That's not a strength, and that's not something you can say. Oh, it's terrible. They got guys like Avery and Tikkanen on the ice. No, you got to deal with it. or learn a way to
like
deal with
like you said earlier, like look at what happened with Zdeno Chara. He was done. He was not the same. He got into their head.
And look at somebody like Jonathan Toews, who got in similar trouble. I guess the series was the Detroit Red Wings last year, where he screwed up, took a horrible penalty after getting frustrated. And what did he do? He dug it out, became the leader of the team again with encouragement of his players, and then led that team to the Stanley Cup.
But I think honestly, as far as talent goes, I think Toews is nowhere. I mean, he's talented, but he's not at Sidney Crosby level. I mean, it's just hard. Let's admit it. It's hard for us, being Metropolitan Division fans and being from this area, to say that Sidney Crosby is the best player in the world. But you know what? It's true.
Well,
I mean, best complete player. I mean, right now, Steven Stamkos could be up for debate, and also Ovechkin.
But he's not the greatest player of all time, and I don't even think he's close.
No, he's not the best of all time.
But he's definitely the best of this Crosby Ovechkin, and I think he's actually
best active players
Ovechkin
in the NHL right now.
Yeah. All right, you got to get going, Harrison.
Players at certain things. Like I think that one thing we don't give enough credit to is Zdeno Chara and Patrice Bergeron are the two best defenders at their positions in hockey.
You're absolutely enough of it.
They make players look terrible. They make the Sedins, when Zdeno Chara is on the ice, it's a masterclass in how to defend them. He's so good at it. And Bergeron shuts down Crosby like nobody's business.
That's true, because he's probably the only guy that's a better face-off man than him. I imagine that. I mean, being competitive as he is, I think that gets under his skin. Hey, Harrison, you want to stick around and do the news with us? Which, I don't know, or you got to get going, because I think your duty to shot from the point is done, and we absolutely but if you want to hang around. What's that?
Right,
that's great.
I'll stick around.
I'm glad you're having fun. So, well, you're not from Philadelphia. Let's see. Let's see. How does this work? See, this is how professional I am. Here we go. What's wrong with this thing? God damn it! I finally get a guest on, and the whole thing's going nuts. What's going on? Oh, here we go. 1, 2, 7. Here we go. Bye. Here. Yeah! It's that time again, Jake League. It's Hockey News. Brought to you by The Joe Cronin Show. If you want to talk about wrestling, I don't know why you would, but if you want to talk about wrestling, check out Joe Cronin Show tonight, right after the Elimination Chamber. And you like wrestling, Harrison?
I do not.
Well, let's move on then.
Well, you can talk about whatever you want. I'll just be quiet if you're talking wrestling.
I lost interest in it years ago. But I don't know. There's something happened. One of our we call our sister show now. A guy that has he runs a wrestling show, but he's been so helpful to me on just tips and tricks and promotion and things of that nature. Stuff that wasn't working by aggravating Ryan Lampert has really worked by just listening to him. And he does a wrestling talk show, sort of like you would do any other. It sounds ridiculous, but he does a wrestling talk show, and it's exactly like a regular sports radio. But they don't talk about like the angles of what's going on the television. They talk about the behind the scenes stuff. It's something they call SMARC fans, and about getting promoted in wrestling. And I'm sure you're terribly not interested. Neither am I. Let's go. But Joe Cronin Show, please check out Joe Cronin Show, because he's the best. He's the best, right?
That's right. Yeah, and he gets accused for racism, and we shut him down.
Oh, we shut that guy down. We killed. I think we ended his career. That's you asked me, Harrison. You asked me before if we goofed on you all week, and the truth was we're not. We actually goofed on this guy the rest of the week. So you got spared last week for missing us.
Oh, that's good.
Because of this goofball that criticized my good friend in Boston, which I never thought, being a person from New Jersey, I would ever say that I had a good friend in Boston. All right, let's go over this stupid news. And actually, I'm just going to do the news in this way. What does Harrison Mooney think? Early on, we do the news like 6 days out, so a lot of this stuff's going to be really old news, but we do it for the week because we only do the show once a week. Alex Radulov, what do you think his impact for Team Russia is? I mean, this is a guy that's been plagued and considered a locker room cancer. He seems to have done it again for Team Russia, or do you not think that his penalties, I guess, late in the game in the United States, really took their toll against? I mean, this guy, I don't know why another team in the NHL would want him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that Radulov is. I think he's an asshole. Like, I think, and most people will tell you that Alex Radulov's an asshole.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's a big surprise. I don't think I'm going crazy when I say that. But
no.
I mean, he's a fantastic hockey player. And there were the next game for Russia. I think he was their best player. He just happened to have a bad game against the States, and those penalties were unfortunate. But when you're already hated, and then you take 2 penalties like that, you're going to look like a bigger jerk. And I think that's what happened in the case of Radulov.
You would know this better than I would, or maybe would. I would. Do they feel that way about him in Russia as well as the way we feel about him in North America?
I think not to the same extent, because I think that there are some ethnocentric issues when it comes to Radulov in North America. You know, He's a singular dick. Right, he's just he's like Sean Avery, right? Yeah. But the thing is that because there are already issues about Russian hockey players, you see one like Radulov, and somehow that's symptomatic of him being Russian as well. It's not; he's just a dick. It's the same thing as
you're
Sean
absolutely
Avery.
Right. You're absolutely correct. It's nothing to do with being Russia. Datsuk's one of the classiest guys in the business, and you know what?
In Russia, I am considered a sweetheart.
Oh, guess what? We have Radulov here. Himself. Hey, Mr. Radulov, I'm sorry about your loss. So where do you go from here? Are you thinking about coming to North America, or punching your hockey coach in the face anytime soon?
Yes, punch hockey coach in face, and North American hockey is not as good as Russian hockey. They just got lucky.
Yes, you prove it. Well, it was probably the CIA that removed that.
Yes, it was the CIA, and. It goes back to Cold War.
Goodbye, Alex. Take care.
That was awful.
I don't think that was the real Alex Radulov.
You don't?
I don't.
Alexander
Salmon. Wait till you get very, very mean and abrupt. Alex Ovechkin.
Watch this. Alex Ovechkin, you're on the air. How you doing, Alex?
I don't want to talk about it.
Why don't you want to talk about? Why don't you talk about?
It's because America's cheaters, Canada is cheaters, Finland cheaters, Austria cheaters, all of them cheaters.
So how would you?
Yes.
How do you get upset about Jonathan Quick knocking a post off when you guys were? I thought it was the Summer Olympics out there, but he's diving. I mean, how do you complain?
No. We weren't diving. Our skates were untied.
All right, moving on. Yes, that's the best bit we could come up with, Harrison.
Yeah, I just do Russian accents, and you just make fun.
Alexander Semin, you're on the air. How are you doing, Alexander?
Oh yes, I am Alexander Semin. Yes, my name sounds like semen.
All right, we had enough.
I like that you're Alex. I like that your impression of Alexander Semin is him just giving you the best joke that you can possibly make about him. Like if I showed up, I was like, I'm Harrison and I'm the biggest idiot ever. Like that is basically your impression of Alexander Semin.
Okay, moving on with the news.
Well, I had one where I used to play with the stalls, and yes, it used to be Stall, Semin, and Stall. I don't know if we were a hockey lineup or if we were just a bathroom at a gay bar.
Thanks, buddy.
There it is.
Hey, he works real hard, and he works really cheap, Harrison.
Hey, I had a rough week.
Yes, so. I know you did. You did have a rough.
I am not on 100% right now.
He had a real rough week, Harrison, and he's doing good. You're doing good. Hey, do you think you might want to replace him or something like that, Harrison? Or I mean,
no, I'm good. I'm happy to be here today, though.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Tommy will replace anybody at the drop of a hat.
I'm a sociopath. I'm gonna step over you like you're a ladder on the ground. I'm gonna step right. All right.
I do it, but I'm an alcoholic, and Sunday at 3 is that's the drinking hour most of the time.
Tommy's an alcoholic, and it's like fucking 2 a.m. there. Or
I know
it's
1:00 in the morning here, and I am.
Tommy, I thought honestly, because Tommy posted the whole thing about his wife and his kid, and the cops came.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get in touch with them, and I couldn't get in touch with them for like an hour.
Cops in my house.
And I thought honestly he was in jail, but no, he was just drunk and fell asleep.
That's pretty much it. I haven't grown up. The thing is, like, I was perpetually an adolescent for 8 years of my life, and I left the Army in 2011, and I'm desperately trying to, I think I need a psychiatrist. I do, because I'm perpetually an adolescent and I'm under 40.
And it's not like, oh, he must have some PTSD. It's like, nah, I didn't see any action.
No, nothing really happened. I mean, I saw some weird stuff happen. I don't really want to get into that, but I'm not shaking in my bed at night, and I know people that are, and it's horrible. But I just I remember the stuff that sticks out in my mind is the time that I got in with an Iraqi translator, and I was like, and he wanted me to drive him somewhere on post, and I look over and he's handing me an M4 and says, you should really protect this stuff because somebody could shoot you like me. Those are shit that I remember. Yeah, good idea. Some dopey soldier left his gun in the car, if you could believe that, for hours. I don't know how you get away with that. Anyway, all right. I want to do this. I'll skip to this because I want to. Ted Noland. And I know this from being in Germany. Hockey's really growing, not so much in Germany, but in the German-speaking countries over here, like Switzerland and Austria. How much is Noland's impact on Latvia? Well, I guess, yeah. What I'm saying, it's growing in German-speaking countries, and we have very good players here in this part of the world. How does a Latvia beat them? Does it have something to do with Ted Noland, or is it just that Latvia is that good, or that they're a team to look out for in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. I honestly think that Ted Noland, the job that he's done with the Latvian team is downright insane. Like, he had those guys playing an incredible team game. And I think a lot of times, if you have a coach and he's working with kind of inferior players, he can only get so much out of them. But if you install the right system, you can turn kind of a mediocre team into an at least competitive team. And that's what Noland was able to do with Latvia. And they've looked really great ever since he came in.
How come he has had so much trouble in the NHL? I mean, when I was in my early 20s, this is a guy that he was sought after, and next thing you know, he disappears for almost 8 or 9 years, and then he disappears for another 3 or 4. This guy's a great hockey coach, but there's something wrong there. What do you think it is? I mean, actually, your colleague Greg Wyshynski wrote a really great article about it recently. What's going on where he seems to battle with management in such a bizarre way, and things like racism are thrown around? Do you have any insight on that, or even?
Well, yeah, like I don't know a whole lot about Ted Noland, to be honest with you, but I mean, it really wouldn't surprise me. I don't want to make it seem like everything is racial, but I mean, it would not surprise me if a lot of the issues that he's dealt with are because of that. Really? There's a reason that we don't see a lot of other, coaches of any other ethnicity besides white in the NHL. And I think it's because it's difficult for them to even get taken seriously. I'll tell you, I'll give you a story here. I won't tell you the team.
Sure.
But I did some radio work for this one team and this one coach. And I had an afro at the time. I have an afro now.
Sure.
And I got... pretty much every time that I was in there, somebody telling me, if you want to be taken seriously, you'll cut your hair.
Okay.
Right.
But I mean, that look, that could go my way too, in fairness. I mean, I have long hair, and if I want to get a good job, I'm going to have to cut it. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
We're not talking about like an insane afro here, like a funkadelic. We're talking about like a mid-size. Like my hair right now is like big-ish. It's pretty well kept too. Like I'm not walking around with like natty gross hair. It's clean.
Yeah. No.
But I mean, there's that. There was a time that someone disagreed with something I said and just kind of casually was like, you're lucky I respect you, because if I didn't, I would have told security to get his black ass out of here.
You should have punched him in the face. You should have immediately slugged that guy.
Little things like that.
I wouldn't have put up with that.
That's a question I actually want to ask you. Now, you being a black hockey writer, is it tough? Like, is there a lot of just racism and stuff? Because I mean, this is not something you see every day, and like you said, you did the radio, and you get it like a lot, with the with the comment that was said. Do you get like a lot of like people that don't take you seriously because you're
No, not really. Like I don't think it happens that much, especially because I'm like an online writer. It's not, I'm not in the locker room every single day. I'm not kind of like crusading for the cause or whatever. But I do get it occasionally. I get a lot of people that'll tell me stick to basketball, as if I know anything about how to analyze basketball.
You grew up in Canada. How are you going to know anything about basketball? Jesus.
Rick Nash. That's about it.
It's So I mean, there's that, and then occasionally it doesn't happen that often, but occasionally someone will come after me with like insane racial slurs. But
is this on Twitter or is this in person now? I mean, because I get insane stuff once in a while too. Did anybody like? I mean, other than that other incident, anybody come up to you like balls to the wall, like, hey, look, you're not getting this job because you're a little darker than the other guy.
Can you imagine if somebody said that though? Like that'd be insane. Because I mean,
Well, it almost
the moment that
warned you.
somebody spells it out, if someone's like, "Hey, look, I would hire you, but black." So
No, I meant it in this sense. I meant it in this sense that no one would ever come. I meant it like somebody close to the company and say, "Look, man, they're not going to have a black hockey writer. I think you should move on." Not that came from management or anything. Maybe just a friend. I mean, that's got to be just as devastating.
Yeah, no, it's never happened. I'd be shocked if I ever got anything like that. Because I mean, if you have that kind of ammunition, then you can just like sue them or whatever. That's how you lose jobs. Like you can't be connected to any kind of racial issue like that. So no one would ever say it, and I've never suspected it either.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah, that's good. Like
that.
Let's face it. I know we're in 2014, but there's just people that think like that. You
There's
know,
crazy
totally
people
are.
out there.
I don't think like that. Tommy doesn't think like that.
How do you know?
But yeah, we did a report on the big trend in Germany.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's true. We did that.
Blackface.
I don't want to talk about that. That was another show for another time. But it's absolutely 100% true. I can vouch for it. It actually is happening here. But it's not racist. It's just the German. Real quick, Harrison. Why did the United States women blow it? Same thing for the men?
You know what? It was a combination of things. I think, they were they got a little bit close to the end, and they were like, okay, we need to hold on to this lead, when what they really needed to do at that point was keep pressing. The puck was in their zone way too much. Obviously, Canada is really pushing, but I think the States should have pushed back, and instead they tried to collapse to their net and protect the lead. And then you're just playing with luck.
That's a coaching decision. You're absolutely correct. I felt like in the preliminary rounds that the team, Chris Wazzle of the hockey writers, he says take a lesson from this game. The U.S. men's team, do not take your foot off the gas, and I think that's what happened over there. And they wanted to win so bad, they went into
did you see the meme?
An NHL 14 protect net defense.
Did you see the meme I found? Never did 2 inches make 22 women so happy.
Shannon Sabados, the Canadian goalie, even shared that meme. So I mean, that made the rounds for sure. But no, I think like that. And here's the thing: like when you sit back on a lead, it might work. But the thing is, if you're going to let the other team get into the zone, the moment the puck is in the offensive zone, there's a chance, of course, that even if you do everything right, it's going to end up in your net.
And here's another reason it's stupid, Harrison. It's Team Canada. It's not the Germans. I mean, it's Team Canada. They're going to find a way. They're going to get a good bounce. Because they know how to play, I think it was a. Well,
from what I saw, it seemed like it definitely looked like that first goal they let up. It just seemed like they just stopped America.
Yeah,
like there was just nothing. They're just all right, whatever. We're gonna win this, and then it just like everything stopped. Like everything went in slow motion for them, and Canada was still moving at regular speed.
Yeah,
and then it just.
That happened. I do think that, once that first goal, because I mean, even like as soon as that first goal went in, like sometimes you see a goal that cuts the lead in half and you're like, okay, that was it. And other times you can just kind of see that something's about to happen, and in that case, that goal, it really shook the women. They went further into their shell rather than attacking a little more. And Canada kept coming. And then, and then it's luck. It's the puck off the post in the Canadian end, and then it's a couple bounces and suddenly it's in USA goal. And I mean, I think luck plays a huge role into that, but it's also nerves and fear and the coaching strategy at that time. It's just kind of everything. It all went wrong at once.
Yeah. What do you think about the potential fact that there's a potential chance there's going to be no more women's hockey in the Olympics?
Yeah, it's sad.
I think it's fucking bullshit. I'll be honest with you.
There's 2 teams in the whole world, Harrison.
Yeah.
No, it's fucking bullshit. Here's the thing. Here's how you get more teams. You keep going to the Olympics.
You got it right.
You keep going to the Olympics, so that other teams see something that they're actually aspiring to. So there's something, because right now there's nothing. The women play, they get attention once every 4 years. There's no league for them to go home to. There's nothing.
There's a European league or something. Isn't there a league in like Sweden?
Yeah, but like not really. It's not that huge a league. Like I just think in order for for women's hockey to grow, you actually have to give it a chance. And you can't kill it now because it's just really North American. Yeah. You keep it in, you let other teams come on. I mean, Switzerland came out of nowhere and surprised everybody to win bronze. Mm-hmm. And other teams will get better. It's going to take time, but they'll get better. I mean, we saw it with in the long track speed skating, the Netherlands won everything. Are we going to take that out of the game because they're the dominant country there?
You know what? I'm convinced. I mean, another thing, it's never going to grow if they stop playing it. Exactly. And so there's no league. So I have been convinced, but I was thinking of it more of a financial situation. If it's not profitable, I mean, look, this is the reality of life. If your business doesn't make money, you have to close it. I don't know if that's the situation. I don't know the finances of Team Canada and Team USA's women's hockey, but I mean, if you don't have the interest, at the end of the day, it's going to close. But if for some reason, if I'm all for keeping it afloat. I actually really enjoyed the women's tournament this year, but I was looking at it more of like a financial thing. And you're right. It's never going to grow if it goes away. And like you said, the Dutch kicked everybody's ass. 100% agree with you. You totally changed my mind.
Well, it's like Canada always like dominates curling, you know?
Yeah. Well, they play a lot of curling.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, that's it, right? Like, because we dominate curling because we care about curling. Everyone here curls. Really? Right? And it's the same reason that we dominate hockey, because we care. Yeah. And the thing is, you're not going to inspire that kind of national interest in a sport unless it's in the Olympics.
Absolutely. Teemu Selanne, the best Olympic NHL Olympic player in the since '98. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
I thought he had an incredible tournament. You could probably argue that somebody else maybe had a better Olympics. I think that in terms of what Teemu Selanne means to international hockey, nothing made us feel better than what we saw out of him in this Olympics. I'll say that.
Okay, fair enough. I love Teemu. I mean, he's been playing since I was in high school, and he's always played at such a high level. He doesn't, and the thing is, he's not doing a Brodeur where you're like, oh my God, when is this guy gonna go? Yeah. He's killing himself. He still looks like he can play another year. Sorry, Jake.
No, Martin Brodeur is a little bit like he's getting into Brett Favre territory here. Like apart from the dick pics,
I think so.
Where
I'm sure from what I hear, people that know he's been known to show the nose.
No comment. But listen, what I'm saying is,
he's gonna be sending pictures of his wiener to chicks soon.
No. I actually know a girl, a comic. I was at a show. I was wearing a Brodeur jersey. She said, I hate Marty Brodeur. He's a horrible kisser. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I hate Marty Brodeur. He's horrible. Oh, boy. Oh, Jesus. I have a daughter. I got to think about these things. Thanks for telling me that, Jake. I think we're almost done here. And then we're going to wrap up and say goodbye. And I want Harrison to plug whatever he deems necessary. That's about it. I think that's the news. Harrison, I appreciate you sticking through it. But you know what? How much time do we got? Nah, let's just get into plugs and end the show. I think it'd be really cool to end the show with Harrison right now. So Harrison, do you have anything to plug or anything, or like as far as like Puck Daddy and things that we do this at the end of every show?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you should obviously go to Puck Daddy and read all the stuff that we do there.
I do.
Over at Pasadaboulas, my other blog, the Canucks blog, read that one too. That's about it. Read my blogs. Gets me money.
Read blogs. Dude, you don't get paid per hit, do you? You're not like
I don't. I argued very strongly to get paid monthly as opposed to by traffic, because I hate that crap.
Can you renegotiate next time?
No, I don't want to.
Yes, you do. Get him. We're rooting for you. Per hit. Go for it.
You know, Puck Daddy's probably one of the best places to go for any hockey news, because NHL Network, NHL.com is just, you just don't get the behind the scenes stuff and the things that you really want as a hockey fan.
The thing about Puck Daddy is like, I like locker room stuff, not like, who they're sleeping with or what cereal they're eating. I like the goofy stuff, and I think that was if Greg contributed one bit, that was really it. That he gets the slew foot from the goalie over at some minor league team. I absolutely love that stuff. And the
thing with Puck Daddy is that we just want to, like, if it's interesting, we want to share it, right? Like, I think that's what Greg Wyshynski is trying to do, is just kind of run a hockey blog that has like every piece of interesting hockey content you're gonna want on in one site.
Yeah. It is for the hardcore, I think, but it is amazing how mainstream it is, too. I mean, just about, there's very few people. I mean, you guys are big guys. I call you the Four Horsemen of the hockey world. I mean, and then you also have two new members. Well, you have the, I can't pronounce your Russian colleague's name. I apologize. But you also have a new member of the female persuasion, correct?
We do, yeah. Jen Niels, she came in, I think a couple of months ago. She's still learning the ropes, and it takes a little while and whatnot.
Single?
But, she's coming along.
Is she single?
Yes.
How tall is she?
All right. Yeah.
I wish the best to Jen Neal. Don't be a snark. Just write your own stuff. Listen to Harrison. He's an honest guy. That's what she should be on the phone with you. And then what you should do is, ask her if she's ever been to Vancouver, and if she's ever actually seen a whale, and then bring her over there, and show her what a Nets head coach how he handles it. What do you think? Think we could make some matchmaking right here? Or?
I can't do that. No, she's like one of the Puck Daddy family now. That'd be like trying to put the moves on Lambert or Leahy. I can't do it.
Gotta be pretty good. But look, Greg, we criticize him a lot because we love it. I don't think we've ever said once, Jake, don't read Puck Daddy, right? I never said that, right?
No.
I think so.
But
you know what it is?
Funny? I said it before. I go, for someone that starts fights with Puck Daddy, sure as hell like to get all the content from them for the show.
I read every article.
Yeah.
You argue because you care.
No,
you know what? Puck Daddy's actually, we could accredit like a lot of the success because Tommy posted a Harlem Shake video.
Yeah, and they helped us out. And I thought, that's really nice of Greg to repost the Harlem Shake video. We got a bunch of subscribers. Why don't my next move is I attack him? We're literally just trying to live off your coattails. That's the whole plan.
I loved Ryan Lambert's tweet when you posted the little thing about Harrison when we were talking about him. It was, I don't even have to see this to know who it was.
So great. He is funny. I'll give him that. Snarky, but funny. I'll tell you what's up. My problem with Greg Wyshynski is this. I do love Don Cherry. I know he's a flawed man, and I think that's why I like him. It's just that I think that Greg sees himself as some kind of American Don Cherry, which he'll never be. He doesn't have it. So, like, when he makes that sort of, you said before you kind of insulate yourself with elitism because of attacks. Don Cherry never attacked Greg Wyshynski, and then he used advanced stats is a roundabout way to attack him. I found it disgusting. And
by the way,
I think you asked for it then. I think you guys asked. If you guys don't want to be attacked, and you're going to write and then hide behind satire and say, hey guys, it's just a joke. I think what you did the other day with satire, I think something like that is really just an attack and just a way to back out if anybody calls you on it.
Nah, he was like, that was fun. I don't even think that was like an attack. I think that he was having some jokes. Like occasionally we do posts that are really just silly. Like if you have a funny idea and you think it's going to do well, it's going to get people talking, you're going to have some fun with it. That's one thing. But I don't think that, anything that Wish wrote in there was really that far offside. And I helped him write that piece. So
did you really?
I did.
How do you feel about Don Cherry?
Sorry?
How do you feel about Don Cherry?
I think he's a dinosaur. I think that he was at one time a very important hockey mind, and I think that the game has changed and he's gotten older, and now he just rambles on TV and should no longer be on it.
Oh, come on. It's ridiculous. He's absolutely entertainment for the same reason that Sherman's entertaining. I don't care. That's what I think you guys think. That I think you don't know what fans know. And of course, I speak for all the fans. We don't care how much you know. You want to...
come on, there's nothing more hysterical than a damn near almost probably senile man going on there complaining about today's hockey players. Come on.
I got another thing.
That's entertainment.
He's usually right. That's the problem. But I'm not talking about predictions. I'm talking about no one, and to this day, I'll give him this, no one identifies momentum swings like he does. Nobody.
He's like, okay, during the game against, what game was it? I think the game against Finland, Don Cherry actually said that Canada, their problem was that they brought too many stars and they needed to bring more third and fourth liners to build actual third and fourth lines. Do you have any idea how fucking insane that is?
Well, I will say this. I think that by itself, but bringing a couple role players, which, by the way, Team Canada's done in the past, and so has Team USA, I think
it's been ridiculous when they have.
You can't. I don't think you can win with 4 lines of absolute speed. I mean, I think one of the great things about Team Canada is, yes, they have these superstars, but they can muck and grind if they need to. It might not have been necessary for this team, but you have to have guys that go in the corners. It's such a subtle part of the game. You have to go in and you have to make a turnover happen. The team that makes the turnover, let me put it in basketball sense. The reason the Bulls won so many championships is because guys like Grant and Rodman gave guys like Pippen and Jordan second opportunities. So when you have those guys and they dig in the corners, they're going to give guys like Sidney Crosby second and third opportunities. They're going to score. So I don't think that's changed. And you see that in Boston. They went all the way to the Stanley Cup final. They have tons of role players. Now, I don't know if that was the correct judgment in this particular case, but I think the principle and the logic is not flawed at all. That's my defense of my hero.
I think that you take the best players that you have available. Like, and it's as simple as that. If you had your choice between like Horace Grant or a second Michael Jordan, like, what are you taking?
But I need somebody to get the ball. I need somebody to get the ball to Grant, and I think this is where you guys miss it out because you never played. And I'm not. That's not a criticism in the sense that I'm being like, oh, you never played, I'm better than you. I think those are the subtle part of the games that you guys miss because you haven't had to dig one out. You haven't had a guy like a Horace Grant. I'm just using that because I think it's in a broader sense. You got to have those guys that go in. Was it necessary this time? No. I tell you something else. I mean, I've seen teams in all sports put these, take the New York Yankees, put these incredible free agents together, and they don't do anything when they get out there. So you do need the grinders. I think it's a matter of how much and what balance you have. Look, the United States, when they beat Canada in 1996, they had the Hatcher brothers. Certainly not the best 2 defensemen in the league at the time. But they stopped Lindros, they stopped Messier, they stopped Gretzky. When they were still very formidable, such a horrible broadcaster, players. So I think the principle's there. And you take the Chicago Blackhawks. I know I'm rambling. They have grinders on that team as well. So I don't.
Well, yeah, but they have grinders because you can't have 12 Jonathan Taves.
No, that's true. Well, Taves isn't afraid to. Well, you know what I think it is too. I think Canada, where he may have been wrong, is I think there's a lot of superstar players that grind. They can do it all, and they're not afraid to do it. And I think that says a lot about Team Canada. Okay, moving on from Don Cherry and Greg Wyshynski. We do absolutely love your podcast. We hope everybody goes to read it. We hope everybody sends you sensible tweets. And you did an absolute, I would even say, a better job than Ryan did defending himself. Yeah. Because you're extremely honest. And if you would just hang out with me just for a second so I can promote my other stuff, we'll end this show. Joe Cronin, the Joe Cronin Show. Please check out Joe Cronin. He does a wrestling talk show. He's absolutely the best guy in the whole goddamn world. And if you think wrestling talk show is stupid, you should check it out. It's a lot like sports, and you actually might learn something behind that business that you didn't know. It's not what it seems to TV. There's a lot more to it. It's actually a very, very interesting carnival-like business. We teach you a lot of tricks and tips and all that. Check it out. Check out the Joe Cronin Show. JohnFreemanMusic.com. JohnFreemanMusic.com. John Freeman is a musician that writes all this stuff for this crap, or this show, and he's really mad that Obamacare didn't work, and he yells at me all the time. And it's not my fault. I had nothing to do with it. I live in Europe. Check out, but otherwise, besides being a left-wing kook, John Freeman is a fantastic musician. He also happens to be my best friend, and I've known him for 20 years now. One of my best friends. That's it. And that's it. Harrison, thank you for being on our show. I think it was. I think we learned a lot about you in the sense that you're not a bullshit guy. So
thank you.
You're not a bullshit guy.
Thank you for coming on.
And we have to kiss your ass because you're the most famous guy to ever come on, and we're fucking ranking amateurs.
Yeah, we're starstruck right now.
Yes.
You got anything to say goodbye with, Jake?
I got Well, I don't know. For those of you that don't know, it's been a very, very rough week for me and my wife. I was hoping to announce this week that my wife was pregnant, but it turned out that she was pregnant, but the baby was actually stuck in the tube, and she had to go for an emergency ectopic surgery to remove a fallopian tube. And it's been a very, very rough week for both of us. And I want to thank everyone who actually came out, call all the phone calls, text, emails, messages, and just everything, and any little bit. It was very, very much appreciated by everyone. I just want to thank everyone for just keeping us in your thoughts and your prayers.
And Jake, I really one of the things, because this is a big deal for us to have Harrison on. I know it wasn't easy for you to come on and try to be funny, and I really appreciate it because this kind of stuff, it might not seem like nuts. Oh well, just get on the horse, try again. No, man, this I know how much this means to you and your family, and you showed some guts because I guess I could have interviewed Harrison alone, but it wouldn't have been the same without you. And I really wish the best to you. And your family and Tracy, of course. Harrison, thank you very much for sticking through this. Like I said, you're no bullshit guy. And,
thank you very much for coming on.
And if
thank you for coming on. I had no idea about your wife there. That's
we thought we went for the ultrasound and they were just like, we don't see the baby in the uterus, and they're like, listen, there's no heartbeat, there's nothing there, but it's still growing. We're gonna have to go in there, because she probably would have died, if it went another 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was like one of those rare situations where, you have to make.
When you get blood work back and the doctor's calling you, it's not good.
Yeah, no, that's something else. I'm really sorry to hear it, man.
Yeah. But look, Jake's a real tough guy, and one of the reasons I think we were mad at you.
I enjoyed coming on to the show. It helps bring normalcy back into the whole situation and into life. I mean, Tracy, she's doing fine. She's moving around and stuff. She's at home. She's not like she had to spend the night at the hospital, but still, it's just been very emotional and rough.
Yeah. Jake, thank you.
Yeah.
Harrison, thank you. Maybe around the Stanley Cup final. You could check in with us some other time if you'd like to do that. I really appreciate that if you could spend some time. But I think this went better than could have possibly been imagined. I hope.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'd love to do it again.
I hope you had fun. Thank you very much, everybody.
We'll have you on during the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, so hopefully, get your opinions then, because he's a no bullshit guy. That's Harrison.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Because he learned it from his Irish parents. I'm imagining with that name, correct?
I'm gonna put that on my business card.
You're a no bullshit guy.
Bullshit guy.
You're no bull. Hey, Harrison Mooney.
No bullshit guy with Irish parents.
Yeah, I would know. Actually, the Irish are full of shit. Thank you very much, everybody. This has been a Shot from the Point production. Please subscribe. And good night.